Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
I'm Angie and I am an alcoholic.
Hi, Angie!
And for once I am not nervous. I always go around with sweaty palms, my eyeballs spinning, and my mouth and throat dry, and feel like I'm going to have diarrhea. And I always do this. I'm not nervous. I am very fortunate tonight to have two friends with me that know me and have heard me so many times that if I fall over with a heart attack, either one of them could take over. But it is good to be participating in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And tonight I do walk with the dignity of a sober woman alcoholic in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I am one that has conceded to my innermost self that I am a real alcoholic and have completely given myself to this program. Now, it's not come easy, as I don't think it comes easy for any of us, or fast, because you see, I'm a hard-headed Mexican broad that has reserved the right to do it my way first. And when all else fails, I follow directions. I am one of those that the big book talks about when it says that bottles were only a symptom. Because you see, I've looked back over my life and I always was weird. And I was always different. And I never fit in any place as far back as I can remember. In fact, they switched the whole family on me at birth. You know, I still don't belong to them people. They still aren't too impressed with me. Somehow, I'm always been the screw-up. And I still am. My mother is the type of person that it's okay whatever you do as long as the neighbors don't know about it. And I'm the type that whatever I do, everybody and God knows about it the next day. That's just the way I've always been. So this is the only place. Alcoholics Anonymous has been the only place I've ever fit in. I've ever felt like somebody. I am a bar-drinking female. And everything that happens to bar-drinking females happened to me. I know the feeling of degradation and self-loathing that the woman alcoholic goes through when she's a bar drinker. And I was a bar drinker very, very young. And I'd have given my right arm to feel the way I do tonight, and have for quite a little while. I was born and raised in Orange County in a little barrio. Everybody knows what a barrio is, don't you? It's a little Mexican community. And in the days that I was raised there, we didn't let any Anglos in, and they weren't too anxious to come in there either. And we joined the gangs and beat each other up and call it fun. And we talk about it in the back pew on the Catholic Church on Sunday mornings, because all Mexican Catholics, we go to Mass on Sunday morning whether we need it or not. We're just like the Irish, and I know we're like the Irish because Annie comes from Ireland, and we've compared notes, and the only difference between Irish and Mexican is that they ate potatoes and we ate beans. That's it, man. Yeah. Man, we believed in drinking hard, loving hard, and fighting hard. Going to Mass the next morning and saying, through my fault, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. I was born at a time when they kept the mothers in the hospital a whole week, and when they came home with this baby, they still didn't have a name for me. And the reason for that is because my daddy wanted to name me after his girlfriend, and my mother's narrow-minded. From the beginning. I mean, from the beginning. Quite different from our first speaker. I was a second daughter. I had an older sister that was perfect. You know the type I'm talking about. They always told her what to do, and she always did it. And she did it right, and she screwed it up for me. They used to whip me every day and twice on Sunday just to keep in practice. And so when they were divorced, She would send me to the nuns so they could teach me to be a lady. Now, I never had a yearning to be a lady. It seemed to me that whenever they would say, "Thou shalt not," all of a sudden I had an overwhelming desire to do it. No, it never entered my mind until they told me, "Thou shalt not." And so when they sent me to the nuns, I was born with an emptiness in my soul, an absolute yearning, a hunger, a longing to be loved, to be wanted, to be accepted, to be somebody. And as a little girl, I remember I worshiped my mother, and I tried so desperately to get her to love me, but I just could not. There was something missing. There was you know how they say marbles missing? I think I had 2 or 3. I couldn't quite figure out how to make this lady happy. So when they sent me to the nuns, somebody dared me to see what she wore, and I raised her skirt, see what she had underneath all them clothes. And they 86 me from catechism. And I got the whipping of my life. God, was I popular with the rest of the kids the next day at school. I was the talk of school, and I loved it. It seemed to me that all that attention filled something inside of me. And you know, I really don't feel that I'm all that different today, because you have filled something that was missing inside of me. And that's what I love about the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Although I was always a ham. You know what a Mexican ham is? It's called pork and beans. That's right. And today it's a part of me, and I accept it, and it's good. Now, I ran off to be with him. You know, my daddy, it's going to be better over there, ain't it? I mean, it's got to be better than over here. So I ran off to be with him, and he was over in the San Fernando Valley, and he had a lady that's got a bunch of kids, and he used to take us all up north to pick prunes and grapes, and we were fruit pickers. And you know, God made 2 kinds of Mexicans, as fruit pickers and non-fruit pickers, and I ain't no fruit picker. They try to make a fruit picker out of me. But we stayed beyond the season with the Gallo brothers, and they gave my dad a case of sherry wine. I already told you I was a curious little kid and did anything I wasn't supposed to. I had a big water glass of that sherry wine, and when it hit my stomach, it went off like a firecracker, and everything felt good. Jesus, I found the fountain of youth, and where's it been all my life? It's too bad something that good has to be wasted on social drinkers that don't appreciate it. You know, they don't appreciate it, not like I did. And from the beginning, alcohol did something for me that was terrific. And I want to keep that feeling. Man, I'm a pig from the get. And I have me some more. But I don't know about you, but for me, it's the next day before I know it. And my hair stuck to my face where I'd thrown up all over myself, because I also puked a lot. And my clothes are torn where I got in a fight with somebody, probably everybody, and I didn't know how I was going to be when I drank. And I came to, and I had a sense of shame. I had a sense of being dirty that went all the way through me. And I had to look away because I was embarrassed, and I would look at people's eyes and I would imagine what I had done the night before, absolutely terrified of what I had done. And you know, my drinking never really did change. It just got worse as I got older. I came back to my mother, and she didn't want me home. And I remember having a loneliness upon me and a hunger to be loved, and I wanted my mother to put her arms around me, and she didn't want me home. And I had a knot the size of my fist on my throat where I wanted so much to reach out, and I could not reach out for that which I wanted. I just said, I don't care, I don't care, I don't give a damn. But I did give a damn, and I did care. Now, I lived here and there and everywhere. I'm a cute little kid. I don't sleep under bridges. But I run through a lot of people fast, and I discovered the booze and the boys and the cha-cha-cha. Jesus, in that order. Man, I was a party girl. The only part about that is that usually we had them long parties where you start getting ready for the party early, and then they'd have to sober me up so I could start having fun. And sometimes they'd make it, and sometimes they didn't. And I was one of the original topless, bottomless dancers in them party. I don't even get paid for it. I don't even remember it. But the girls are always so willing to tell you about it the next day, huh? So you beat them up, and then they don't tell me. Violence is the only language that I ever knew, and how to handle anything. I also don't know how to work, so I take up a vocation called burglary. It's still not very feminine. Anybody lived over in Lemon Heights in Orange County in the late 40s or early 50s? I'd like to make my amends tonight. And the day came when the state of California discovered me, and they sent me up to do a little bit of time. Now, I do 13 months for the state of California, and I got out of there absolutely determined never to go back. So I started to think, if you be a woman alcoholic with my emotional makeup, my feelings of inadequacy and being unwanted and unloved, if you're going to drink, don't think. They don't mix. I said, I'm going to go find me a husband. And I went looking for a husband where husbands ought not to be looked for. And I found one, and he was a dreamer like me. He says, babes, when we get married. He built them castles in the air, and I lived in them. And 3 months later, we were pregnant, and I was married in that order. And I married a junkie that's a mainline heroin user, and you just don't live happily ever after with one of those. Very exciting, but not very happy. He had an idea of what a good Mexican wife should be, and I had an idea of what a good Mexican husband should be, and never the twain shall meet. And I got the scars to prove it, and he's got the scars to prove it. And he introduces me to little white pills with crosses on them. I don't know what they are, but I sure know what they do to me. I had one eyeball over there, and I'd make little baby clothes all night long for to get temperature. Man, oh man. And it started out as exciting, and it started out as a fountain of youth, and man, I found it. I found the combination, and I'm going to keep it. And you know, if I continue to drink and eat pills that way, I'd have never come to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I had to live that way because I couldn't stand the reality of the fact that I lived with a man that didn't want to be married to me. A man that I had felt, finally, somebody loves me. And then I found out that he loved many, many other people besides me. And then I had my baby. And when they put that baby in my arms, my heart sang. Because now I knew that somebody belonged to me. That baby inspired feelings within me that nobody ever had before or since. The closest anybody has come to that has been her sister, and even that took a long time. And when I held my baby, I promised her I would never mistreat her. I would never abandon her and discard her and beat her as I had been beaten. And I meant it with every fiber of my being because I loved my baby. And I had the hopes and I had the dreams. But it was not to be. I took that baby and her sister to places that children should not be taken because I am an alcoholic and I am a woman alcoholic. And when I drink, I got absolutely no choices and no rights. Now, I didn't know at the time that I was alcoholic. I just knew there was something different about me that everybody else could see except me. And I didn't want to be like that. And I thought if I could only find out what was wrong with me, then I could do something about it. Or I could rather hide it better from them so that they would think that I was all okay. There was always way down inside of me the spark of the woman that I am tonight that never nothing completely killed off. But I felt there was a monster that lived within me. And I would do all these things that I didn't want to do. You see, I had my yearnings with the one thing I only wanted from life is to find some man to love me and take care of me. Some little house, some place in some corner of some barrio with a little tortilla and taco smells, you know, and the little kitties and the 5 o'clock with the slippers and the husband and, you know, all this nice people type of stuff. And it was not to be. And I didn't know why, except that there was something horribly wrong with me. And then I found out that it was him. So I said, this ain't going to work here. After being married a year and a half, you got 2 babies. So I said, I'm going to leave him, go find me a husband, because certainly I needed somebody to take care of me. God, you know, it's something about getting on in age. You can't see the time in the little watches. So I went out and I fell in love, because I'm going to go find me another one. I don't know about you guys, but when I fall in love all over my body. Every inch of me falls in love forever. I can't remember the names of some of the men I've fallen in love with forever. The faces changed, but Guy I fell in love with was called CB, and that was short for crazy bastard. And Jesus was this guy exciting. He also was born 20 years before his time. After a while, he got tired of me trying to kill him, found another girlfriend. And I started getting letters from this guy that was someplace getting the cure, this first husband. And he says, babes, when we get married. And you know, this time it's going to be different. And it was. We made the Mexican geographical. We moved 20 miles from Mama. And we moved over to Mira Loma by Norco, and we bought a little ranch with the turkeys and the chickens and the horses, and we were going to be farmers. And we joined the PTA. And that first Christmas, I was a librarian, and this dope-fiend gangster was Santa Claus. If them folks had only known on whose lap their little darlings were sitting on. I'm talking about 1961, 1962. I mean, I was going to make this second marriage work with this guy no matter what. I even married him in the Catholic Church, and that's going to any length for a Catholic, especially since he was a Methodist. But isn't long before that life gets to be too tight, and somehow I can't stand it. Besides, I'm thinking my neighbors try to make time with my husband, so I go beat her up. And you can't beat people up when you're trying to be respectable, and I can't make it. I'm a firm believer you can place me in the best of circumstances, and sooner or later I got to create whatever is inside of me, because it's inside my skin I can't live, and I can't live the way them people look. And I know he can't either, and I know I'm trying. I don't think he's trying too much, but I know I'm trying. And it isn't long before he's making the run to Orange County to his connection, and I'm making the run to the wineries. The best thing I can say about Mira Loma, it's in the middle of all them wineries. Man, you don't have to go too far. But my drinking changed somehow, and I thought it was all because of him. Naturally, you know, if you had my troubles, and God knows I had troubles. I used to read the Bible and the lives of the martyrs and the saints, and God I identified. Now is a time when I know what the words agony, despair, and utter loneliness. I know those words. I learned them in Alcoholics Anonymous, where I've learned to express myself in all areas. But I remember them in that bedroom in Mira Loma, where I used to lay on my bed in a fetal position and cry out in agony. I had gotten to the place in my drinking where I drank and I drank and I drank, and my body's drunk and my mind's in agony, and I don't want to go on, dear God, I can't go on. People were no longer coming around me. Nobody cared anymore. You see, they got tired of my physical and emotional verbal abuse because I abuse people. They were always telling me how to be. For God's sakes, I always knew how to be. There was never anything wrong with my values, my standards. They were always high and upstanding. But it was my performance in comparison that was so poor, and it's a gap in between that causes the agony, and I want to die. So I decide to die, and I save a lot of sleeping pills. And one of the few times he was home, I told him I was going to die, and he says, okay. So I went and took a bath and went to bed to die. I got to bathe because if I die, I don't want to be caught dead dirty, you know. And I came to a couple of days later absolutely in a rage because I was alive and I didn't want to be alive. I was tired. And I realized that this man had been in bed with me both nights, and never once did he consider taking me to a doctor or to a hospital. And that has got to be the loneliest day of my life, when I realized that the last human being that was left in my life wanted me dead. He had shown all them packages to my daughters just in case I died, that the police would not blame him. That is why the fellowship, the love of the people in Alcoholics Anonymous, some of you are here and you know who you are, that I love you so much and you've loved me so much. This is why you're so precious to me, because I know how it is to feel so utterly alone that nobody cares one way or another. And you know, I got into the place where you can't drink and you can't be sober and you can't live and you can't die. But because my higher power has always had his hand light whenever it is heavy, and yet I didn't know it. It's only in retrospect that I can see the pattern and I can see his hand upon me. That very day there's a knock on the door, is a lady from the PTA. God, if there's somebody I don't want to see, it's a lady from the PTA. But in a moment of weakness, I let her in and I tell her my tale of woe. And I had a tale of woe. And throughout the conversation, she asked me if I ever heard of Al-Anon, and I'd never heard of Al-Anon. But I got the idea that if I went there, he would straighten up, and God knows I needed for him to straighten up so he could take care of me. And so I got cleaned up and I went to Al-Anon. And somehow I didn't fit in Al-Anon. I felt a little bit like the whore would in a nunnery. There was absolutely no identification between me and them square broads. But I knew I couldn't divorce him. I had enough points against me if I divorced him, but I used to contemplate justifiable homicide because if anybody deserved to die, he did. It would have been a mercy killing. Then I could go to confession and get absolution, and then if there was a heaven, at least I get a chance to go there. So when I went to Al-Anon and they talked about saving him in AA, I finally tricked him to come into AA, and he don't not too impressed with you. I looked at this guy and I described in detail how I was going to wipe him out. And so one day I came home and he was gone. He even took the socks that had holes in him. He wasn't planning on coming back. And that's the way it had to be. I'd have never left him. I didn't know I could move. You see, I'd have stayed there forever because fear has been the great compromiser of my life. And it has compromised me long into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It took me a long time to taste freedom. And this same Al-Anon lady took me to an AA meeting. I don't know what she's trying to tell me. I guess maybe she thought I didn't fit into Al-Anon either. I walked into the young people's meeting in Pomona in August of 1964 on a Friday night, and I sat in the back and I listened to the sounds of Alcoholics Anonymous. I listened to that belly laughter, that smile that reaches to the soul, that shine in the eyes, and that happy talk. Those are the sounds of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I had never heard it before. And I just sat back there and I hungered for it. The very first thing that attracted me to you was what was happening to you. I just sat back there and I listened to it. And newcomer, I always wondered what it was. And one day it came to me when I realized that these are just empty rooms. That which happens in here, we bring it with us. Every one of us brings it with us. And it intermingles and becomes a group conscience, the higher power. Call it what you will. But there is a dynamic something that happens when you and I come together. And if you're new like I was, you don't have it. There was that spark way down inside of me, that hunger, that yearning that never quite died. But I didn't have what them people had. And if you be lucky like me, I just sat back there and I let it wash over my soul. And I hungered for it. I thought it's just too bad I'm not an alcoholic. But you see, it programmed out the only thing I understand. I looked around at all them sober, single, good-looking young guys, and I said, I'm going to get me one of those. And I did. It was the sickest one there. He had to be. I got radar. But I'm one that believes that it takes what it takes, and that's what it took for me. Because my higher power knows the only thing that would catch my attention. I always knew that everything would be all right for me if I could find the right one. And they would say to me, keep coming back. Do you know what that feels like when you're used to people saying, keep on going, weirdo? And I got weirder because I stopped drinking and doubled up on the Miltowns and Benzedrine. And this guy wants to get rid of me, and I'm not easy to get rid of because I don't have a backup. So I walk into a meeting one day, and there was a cute little guy sitting there. He'd just gotten out of YTS. He had big blue eyes and blonde hair, and he says he don't have a girlfriend, and he don't have a surfboard, and he don't have a car. And I look at this cute young thing, and I think to myself, come here, little boy, I'll take care of you. And I did. Taught him everything he knows, and today he's practicing it someplace else. God, and I educated that young man on sick broads. It had been 12 solid years since I had a sober day. But when that relationship was over, he decided to become a minister, and I'd like to think that somehow, in my small way, I helped push him over to God. I don't like women, and I don't trust men, and that don't leave you much. But you see, he was the first man that had ever been kind to me. He was the first man that had ever been gentle to me. And everywhere that he went, he wanted to take me with him. And he seemed so proud to be seen with me. And I hungered for it. He was the one that walked them streets with me at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning where I couldn't sit and I couldn't stand and I couldn't do nothing and the devil was upon me and I'd scream and yell and throw things and I'd beat upon him and he would hold me close and pray over me. And I'd have stayed there forever if I could have. Bill Wilson said someplace in his literature that the good is the enemy of the best. And I was always willing to settle for some little corner of comfort. And I manipulated and did everything I could to stay with that young man. Today I am so grateful that he and I were walked together for 6.5 years. Because you see, I needed that. Today I know that you and I do not come together by accident. That we come together by divine appointment, and we don't leave until that appointment has been met. But leave we will, because every relationship has its beginning and its parting. When you come and touch my life, and you go away from my life, you take a little bit of me with you, and you leave a little bit of you behind. But we're never the same, because your life and mine have touched. But leave we will, and if we be lucky, we come together again, and then we go. The only relationship that keeps on growing is a relationship that I hold with my higher power today. But I didn't know that then, you see. I was always so insecure. I grabbed onto anything and anybody that possibly stayed still for a while. I'd like to say that from that day forward I was sober, but I didn't because I got well. Everybody gets well after 6 months, don't they? Huh? Geez, I hope I read this right. I'll be talking until 12. I had another drunk in me, and I hope it is my last drunk. It wasn't my worst drunk, it was my most hopeless one, because I felt I had tried Alcoholics Anonymous, and I knew it worked for you guys. I could see it working for you, but my case was different. I was weirder. And once I took that drink and I tried to stop, I realized how powerless I was, and I didn't know that I was only going to drink for 2 weeks. But I did come back. You know, there's one thing in me knowing I'm an absolute failure at the business of living. It's another thing when you all know. And I came back knowing you all knew. But you put your arm around me and you said, we're glad you're back. And because I'm a feeler, I knew that you were sincere and I could feel your love and your care. And you know, but now I felt I was too alcoholic, where before I thought I was a little alcoholic, now I thought I was too alcoholic. And they start reading stuff all wrong for people like me. They read something that says, rarely have we seen a person fail. I don't know about the rest of you, but when they say rarely, I know somebody's not going to make it. They say they are such unfortunates, they are not at fault, they seem to have been born that way. Man, I'm screwed. I knew I was born that way. I was always that way. And the saving point for me is that a little further on down it says, and then there are those that have grave emotional and mental disorders. I am so grateful they have that in there. My sobriety sounds like some people's drunkalogue. I kid you not. You just don't live in a cold, dark room without any structure, without any guidance, without anything and anybody to depend on, and not have known reality for so many years, and all of a sudden come to Alcoholics Anonymous and feel a part of and share and feel the love. It wasn't that way for me. So my saving grace is that a little further on down it says many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Now I'm not presumptuous to stand up here and tell you I got the capacity to be honest, because I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm a great sales lady. If I want to do something bad enough, especially when I'm falling in and out of love, because I still do that every so often. Jesus. Yeah. I won't check it out with you. I got enough sexual hang-ups on my own. I'll go home and get on my knees and pray about it and meditate about it and pray about it. Sooner or later, God and I'll decide it's His will for me. Huh? Once I sell me that story, it ain't nothing to lay it on you. Is it 1:45? But you see, I know and I feel that my higher power will see to it that I have enough honesty to fulfill whatever I have been spared for. The essence of my life tonight is my sobriety, and the yearning of my heart is to do whatever my higher power wants me to do. And my journey began, and it was quite a journey, I'll tell you. In the beginning, they know all more than me, then I know more than some of them, then I can't stand some of them. And then I hate one. God, I hated this guy. He'd been sober 250 years and didn't know nothing. And I would go to some of you and I say, how do you get over resentments? I make sure I put a smile on my face so that you wouldn't think I was a bad person. And you'd say, turn it over easy, does it? This too shall pass one day at a time. Keep coming back, go home, read the book, and don't drink. And I would go home and do all this neat stuff, and I'd come back the next night, and it didn't work. I did something wrong. So I didn't want to go back to you because you'd know how dumb I was, so I go to somebody else and, how do you get over resentment? I didn't want to say I resented one of you because I didn't want you to think I was a bad person. And so you'd say, turn it over easy, does it? This too shall pass one day at a time. Go home, read the book, keep coming back, and don't drink. After several times of this, I got the idea. You don't know the answer either. But I kept doing this stuff because I don't know what else to do. You said, read the book. Besides that, I had a curse upon me. I had a lady that volunteered to be a sponsor. And she told me, you got to give up this young man or one day he will give you up. You got to stay home and take care of them two little babies or one day they'll grow up and you'll have no communication and you'll be sorry. And I had never been able to live without a man. Some man to hold me close and make that lonely, horrible something go away at least for a little while. Now, I'm not talking about sex, although that is part of our relationship. I'm talking about that emptiness inside of me that I was never enough for. And I didn't know how to be a mother. I had so much trouble in my first years of sobriety with violence, with depressions, and I could not predict my behavior from 1 hour to the next. So I thought about what this lady told me, so I did the most rational thing for me is I gave up the sponsor. I knew how to get along without her. And you know, when you give up a sponsor, it's so uncomfortable. So I didn't get me one for a while. I just asked everybody. And you know, I lived in fear. I lived in those fears that I would lose that man, and the more I feared, the more I would create the atmosphere. And the day came when all my chickens came to roost. The day came that my higher power said to me, I didn't spare you for bondage. I didn't know I was in bondage until later. I come home one day and my girls were so full of drugs and we had a big fight and I hit them and they hit me back and it was a terrible, terrible row in my house. I went into a depression and again I contemplated and attempted suicide. That young man went and took me to the psycho ward, went home, packed his clothes and left me. And every fear that I ever had came about me. I felt absolutely devastated inside. Almost 6 years of sobriety and I was still a failure at the business of living. And the only reason I didn't kill myself, I don't think I'd have drank, that never entered my mind, but I just wanted to die. I had tried life both drunk and sober, and I was still something wrong with me. And the only reason I didn't kill myself is because of the people in Alcoholics Anonymous. It was from the women that I learned to be a woman, because finally I was able to share the secrets of my heart with you, and you shared the secrets of your heart with me. And we found out that I was not so different from you. In Alcoholics Anonymous, if you be like me and never had a good relationship with my mother, we become each other's mamas. And I needed a mama. And you loved me, and you held me, and you stayed with me. And it was from the men in Alcoholics Anonymous that treated me like a lady that I learned to be a lady. I finally went to one of you with all the honesty I could muster. And I said, what is wrong with me? What kind of a woman am I that I cannot seem to form a one-to-one relationship, not even with a beautiful man like the one I had? And you told me, you looked at me and you said, you are a beautiful, warm, loving lady. And one day you will know the reason. That was the very first time I was ever able to accept those words that I had heard many times. But this time, because I came to you in honesty, I accepted them. And I went home and I got on my knees and I said, okay, God, I know the reason now. Bring him back. And he didn't come back. And I thought about him and I thought about him and I thought to myself, screw them all, let them do what they goddamn please. I don't know about you guys, but for me that means surrender in the only language I understand. And I said, okay, God, I'm never going to be happy again. All you ever want me to do is work with a sick women alcoholics, let them puke on me. All right, all right. And you know, I don't know about your higher power, but mine has a weird sense of humor. When I want something so bad, I can't have it. Oh, God, just this one time, never ask you for nothing again, God. He don't come. Soon as I say, screw it, here it comes, here it comes. Try it sometime. Sometimes I tell him, oh, it ain't that important. He always knows. It's something that just descends upon me. I know tonight that the idea of surrender does not come to every alcoholic, because I've watched us die. And I've never was one that was more honest, more sincere, more open-minded. And there's a person in this room tonight that knows me, how I was when I came in. But I have been spared. I have been spared, and other people have not. And the responsibility, the awesomeness of this weighs heavy upon me. I threw myself completely and absolutely into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous without any reservation. And that is the reason that I walked out with dignity and self-respect tonight. I am one of those ladies that has had to learn to live alone, to find out the difference between being alone and being alone. I am totally dependent upon this program and my higher power today, where I was not before, and I thought I was before. Tonight, nothing and nobody owns me. I don't know how that feels to you when you feel it, but I'll tell you it feels good to me. Not even crackers and jam own me tonight, which was the last thing that owned me. I eat them and you just get sick and you still keep eating them. Mouth is all raw from the salt and the crackers, you eat them. I did that not too long ago. Every so often I got to reach in my garbage can, see what feels good. See if it still hurts. But my kids came back one at a time, and they stayed with me till they were 20 and 21 by choice. And they went to work, and they put me through school, and today I am self-supporting through my own contributions. And that empty yearning, longing something is gone. I know I got too much in there for some poor little guy. You know, I just swoop in like the avenging angel, and I absorb. So in Alcoholics Anonymous, in my total giving myself to you, it's been spread out so thin that if ever there's anything left for some poor little guy, that's more than enough. That's more than enough. And it's over out of the abundance and the overflowing. I often wondered what would happen the next time another crisis comes into my life. It comes to every person's life. Because we do. It's life. I had that opportunity, and today I consider it an opportunity. Because time and life and love softens all blows. About 3.5 years ago, that perfect sister of mine, remember the one that my mother always held up and said, "This is my daughter, Alice. Get back there, Angie." She, even when she would go and get her hair done, it looked like she just stepped out. What you going back in there for? And you know me, I was a klutz. She chose to take her life, and it was my destiny to be the one to find her. Me that had always been so insecure that I said to anybody that came near to me, I grasped on and said, "For God's sakes, do anything you want to me, just don't leave me." It was my destiny to be the one to find her. And I made the call to you because I could not believe what was before my eyes. And I remember Annie walked with me those days. And somehow I hit the bedrock of my sobriety there. Something came together that said God is the only giver and the only taker of life. She chose to go, and he let her go home. How many times did I want to die? And I could never go. He had spared me. Newcomer, I don't come to teach you. I don't come to give you. I don't come to do anything. What I come to do is to share my life with you, because I have been spared. Because I am God's melody of life, and he sings his song through me. He sings his song through me. Someplace, somewhere, somebody needs to know the places I come from. Because his hand is always light when it's heavy. 2 weeks later, I became a grandma. You remember that little baby I had held in my arms so many years ago? She turned out to be a 200-pound Mexican mama. that married her a little 120-pound little Okie. And they look like the odd couple. But this man looks and treats my daughter as I would want a man to treat my daughter. And I was so thrilled at being a grandma. Oh, but this guy joined the service, and they sent my grandbaby to Alaska along with him. I says, thank you, God, I don't know any Mexicans in Alaska. And I had an opportunity to go to Alaska last year, and they thought I was an Eskimo. I said, I'm not an Eskimo, I'm a Mexican. You know, sometimes they come home and one sits on one side of me and the other one sits on the other side of me, and we just love. And we cry and we love, because, you see, we're lovers and criers. And everything has been healed between my daughters and I. And I'm overpaid for anything that I thought I missed out on. My life today is so smooth that I have to manufacture problems. You know, I am so thrilled with sitting home and crocheting. I don't know, but I sometimes look at me and I think, what's a swift chick like you doing, sitting home enjoying crocheting baby clothes for the neighbor? But that's what I do today. I had an opportunity last December to make a 12-step call on that old ex-husband of mine. He saw me after almost 15 years and was so impressed with what you've done with me that he wanted to know what it was. And I told him what you had done with me. Now it hasn't taken, and it's not my business. But I know that I had the opportunity to 12-step call this man that had been the target of so much of my insanity and my prayers. And I am a different person. Tonight I walk in freedom. And I have touched sobriety because he has touched me. May he touch you the same. Thank you so much for everything.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.